Hi, Kendra Pearson here, and I'm going to do a demonstration of our owcp wizard so you can see ease of use. Now, this is going to be a quick demonstration for these purposes. So bear with me, I'm going to share my screen so we can show you what things look like. There we go. Okay, so when you first enter the wizard, the platform looks like this. We have lots of things on our platform. For this demonstration, though, I'm just going to show you how to write a simple narrative. So a new injury narrative here. And we have a sample patient. And for demonstration purposes, this is a pretty simple injury. It can do much more complicated injuries and diagnoses, but for demonstration purposes and speed today, we're going to do something very simple. So this is John, again, a pretend patient. Put his pronouns in there so that when it writes the copy, it can add, he, she in there. His injury was on January 22nd, 2025. He is a mail carrier and his claim is a CA1. Reference number, we're going to put his last name in there, Mr. Martinez, his claim number, and the date that the injury occurred on. And then the information we gathered from the patient, stuff AI cannot tell you, but what happened to Mr. Martinez, what happened, his description of injury. So he hurt his shoulder lifting a heavy parcel. So we have that here. We need to have positive exam findings that we found whenever he came into the office and saw our provider. So we have positive findings for a possible rotator cuff tear here. Imaging findings. So we did have an MRI that did show that he has a rotator cuff tear, and he also has some subacromial bursitis as well in there. And then the diagnosis that we formulated. And for this purpose, we kept it pretty simple. We have two diagnoses. We have that supraspinatus tendon tear and his bursitis. And we're just going to hit generate narrative. So this is really simple. You just put your patient information here. What happened to this poor patient? What exam findings do you have? Imaging findings, and what are your diagnoses? And then you're going to hit generate narrative. So when it first populates, the narrative is simple. It's like a summary. Reason is AI only allows so many characters at first. Very rarely is what it first spits out is enough for your narrative. When we use what it first spits out is maybe if the patient comes in and already has an accepted claim, you're not adding any other diagnosis, they're just coming to you to get started, then this right here will suffice. I'll copy and paste this into my EMR. What happened, my medical opinion statement, my medical summary. I'm not trying to get anything accepted. But in this case, he has a claim number, but nothing's accepted yet. It's still pending because he probably went to an urgent care first who didn't do it right. And so he's here and we need to make this good. So again, this is a summary. We have his job description. We have his description of what happened, the patient's perspective. We have our medical description of injury, our medical opinion and diagnosis statement, our summary and causation, and we have our 5 elements. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to come down here because this isn't enough, right? This medical description of injury, that's not enough to help get this claim accepted. We all know that. It needs to be better. So we're going to hit prompt 1. These are our canned prompts that work 99% of the time for a CA1 injury. If this were a CA2, these would be different prompts. So prompt 1, will you rewrite the medical description of injury with more detail, including all areas of complaint, explaining the mechanism of injury related to the incident? Send. So we're going to rewrite that medical description of injury. And what it's going to give us is a very detailed account from a medical perspective of biomechanically what happened. So here it is. So I'm not going to read this to you because this is for demonstration purposes and I want to be quick and concise, but this is beautifully written, explaining the mechanism of injury, how that rotator cuff was torn, how that bursitis happened, just to support the diagnosis that we're trying to get accepted. So I'm going to copy and paste that into my EMR under medical description of injury. It's beautiful. Next thing is we want to expand on the medical opinion and diagnosis statement. So that's prompt number 2. Rewrite the medical opinion and diagnosis statement. So our response is designed to get what we want from this from AI. So can you rewrite the medical opinion and diagnosis statement with greater detail, using bullet points to expand on each diagnosis? So for each condition, please include a definition of the diagnosis, the mechanism of injury related to the incident, any exam findings that support the diagnosis. And we want to, AI has a habit of adding lots of emojis, hashtags. Maybe it's something that it will stop eventually, but I have to ask it not to. And truth is, sometimes it still adds it. Sometimes it's good to bullet point that for a claims examiner, just to draw their eye to the important things in the narrative. And then sometimes it's a bit overkill. It's your choice to allow it to have. See, it's still put them in there, but that's okay. So we have a clear, concise opinion statement. So in my medical opinion, this happened. We're going to address each diagnosis. It's going to give a definition of what a supraspinatus tendon tear is, the mechanism of injury of what happened. Again, repeating, because it's important, as Federal Injury Centers has taught all of us, it's important to repeat yourself so that they get the hint. And we have our exam findings that support it for both diagnoses. And then we have a statement saying this, the clear evidence that this is what happened. Copy and paste in my EMR. Beautiful. The last thing is we want a medical summary and a causation statement. We want to rewrite that. So prompt number 3, can you rewrite the medical summary and causation with detailed bullet points for each diagnosis, including a summary of the definition, the mechanism of injury, and pertinent exam findings? Please include a separate paragraph that emphasizes the specific incident as the direct cause of injury, rather than the repetitive nature of job duties. Also include the 5 elements required for the claim. So the reason I said emphasize the specific incident as the direct cause of injury rather than the repetitive nature of their job duties is because this is a CA1. And then AI was having a habit of, it just kept saying, oh, repetitive nature. And it would confuse the claims examiner, and then you'd get a denial or a request for more information saying it wasn't clear that this was a CA1. So we want it to be clear that this is a CA1. Same if it was a CA2, we want it to be clear. So we're going to summarize here. Summarize each diagnosis, but then we have this, this specific incident where he lost his footing, and that caused the tear. And then we like to add the 5 elements at the end of our narrative, just to dumb it down for this claims examiner. So we know that, so they can't deny for any of these 5 things, because we just literally pointed it to where it is in the narrative that these things happened. Yes, he filed on time. Yes, he is a civil employee. Yes, it occurred during a work shift, and the injuries, the diagnoses are supported. Yes, it happened during performance of duty. Yes, there is a causal relationship, and it is clear and concise, and it is found in the narrative. That's it. Copy. Paste. Narrative complete. Now, this was a simple one for demonstration purposes, but I hope this helps you see how easy the software is to use. What's awesome is that's archived here now. So, and all of the narratives that you write are archived here. So you can go back to them anytime you need. Why would you want to go back to them? Well, if you've been doing this a while, you know that not everything is flawless and perfect in the DOL space. So even though we wrote a killer narrative, and Mr. Martinez is going to get his claim accepted easy peasy, things could happen down the line. You could get a claims examiner that just, isn't as sharp as they should be. And they deny for some reason. Maybe they're like, oh, maybe, here's the thing, we can't control a patient's story. So maybe, the patient's account of what happened is just a little wishy-washy, and we do our best, but they're like, oh, there just isn't a great causal, you're not showing causal relationship, or their story is just not right, or who knows, whatever they're going to say. And you get that denial letter, patient brings it in, and you need to write a reconsideration. Well, you can just go back to any narrative that was written, and you just go down to the bottom. And what's cool is you can hit upload file, and you can upload that letter from DOL with all the information that they're requesting that you address in your reconsideration. And you can write, will you write me a reconsideration request and address the information in this letter. So we attach this letter where the claims examiner is saying, you need to show this, you need to show that, you need to show this. And we're going to ask it this, and we're going to hit upload. And then it's going to write a reconsideration request addressing the issues in that letter that you can then copy and paste in your EMR for that request. Let's say maybe down the road, Mr. Martinez's therapy is getting denied for some reason, or you need medical necessity. Upload. This therapy is getting denied. Will you write me a letter of medical necessity? Don't worry about my typing. For this patient. Upload that, and then it's going to address what was in that letter. Oh man, there's so many other things that, you mean, expansion. I know this guy already had an MRI showing that, but who knows? Maybe we find that he's not improving, and maybe he wants to add arthritis of the shoulder to his case. So we would go back to that patient and we just come down and be like, will you write me a diagnosis expansion for this patient, adding, blank diagnosis, imaging findings. You're going to have that, right? X-ray, arthrosis, da 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 da. Send message. And it's going to write you a diagnosis expansion. What's awesome about that is it already has all this information about the patient and the injury and his MRI findings and what he's been through. And it's going to be able to write that diagnosis expansion for you that quick. So if this helps give you a demonstration of what it is like to use the software, I know my team loves it. I know we enjoy it, and I hope you do as well.